A full-size motorcycle is supposed to feel powerful, comfortable, and unstoppable. But for many riders, that same size becomes the reason they hesitate before every parking lot, every tight turn, and every slow speed maneuver. Today, we're uncovering 12 heavyweight machines that break that rule, motorcycles with the presence and performance of giants, but the balance and confidence of something far smaller. And stay until number 1, because the engineering behind the motorcycle at the top changes everything we thought we knew about motorcycle weight. Number 12, Yamaha Super Tenere. At first glance, the Yamaha Super Tenere seems completely out of place on a countdown like this. With a 1,199 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine, a rugged steel frame, shaft drive, generous fuel capacity, and a wet weight of roughly 584 pounds, it checks every box for a serious heavyweight adventure motorcycle. Yet the moment you ease away from a stop, those intimidating specifications seem to disappear. Instead of feeling bulky or top-heavy, the Super Tenere responds with a calm, balanced character that makes it feel noticeably smaller than it really is. That surprisingly light riding experience comes down to thoughtful engineering. Yamaha mounted the compact parallel twin engine low in the chassis, concentrating much of the motorcycle's mass around its center instead of carrying it high above the rider. The result is a lower center of gravity that makes parking lot maneuvers, slow U-turns, and uneven surfaces far less intimidating than you might expect. The narrow engine also helps keep the bike slim where your legs grip the tank, making it easier to reach the ground despite its adjustable seat height of roughly 33 to 34 inches. Once you're cruising, the long wheelbase provides outstanding stability without making the steering feel heavy or reluctant. It tracks confidently through sweeping bends while remaining remarkably cooperative at lower speeds. Clean used examples generally sell for around $7,000 to $12,500 across the United States, making it an excellent choice for riders who want dependable, long-distance adventure touring without sacrificing confidence at slower speeds. Its only real weakness is that the electronics and suspension no longer feel quite as modern as some newer rivals. If you're the kind of rider who believes a motorcycle should inspire confidence instead of demanding effort, then drop a little hype in the comments and subscribe. That support is what keeps us digging deeper into the engineering, design choices, and hidden details behind motorcycles that truly make riding better. And if this Yamaha already seems to defy physics, wait until you see what comes next, because the next motorcycle takes that illusion to an entirely different level. Number 11, the Kawasaki Concours 14. The Kawasaki Concours 14 is proof that a motorcycle's weight doesn't always tell the whole story. On paper, this is a serious heavyweight, tipping the scales at roughly 690 pounds fully fueled. You'd expect it to feel bulky, reluctant to turn, and intimidating at slow speeds. Surprisingly, the exact opposite is true. Once the wheels start rolling, the Concours shrinks around the rider, delivering the kind of confidence and agility you'd normally expect from a much smaller sport bike. Power comes from a liquid-cooled 1,352 cubic centimeter inline 4 that traces its roots back to the legendary Ninja ZX-14. While the engine delivers effortless acceleration, it's the chassis that deserves most of the credit. Kawasaki's aluminum monocoque frame wraps tightly around the engine, positioning its heaviest components low and close to the motorcycle's center. The fuel tank is equally well thought out, carrying much of its fuel lower than it appears. Combined with neutral steering geometry, the result is incredibly natural handling that disguises almost every pound. The seat height measures about 32 inches, making this full-size tourer surprisingly approachable. Parking lot maneuvers require a little respect, but thanks to its low center of gravity, the bike remains stable during tight U-turns and slow speed riding. Once you're out on the open road, it feels remarkably composed, changing direction with an ease that continually surprises first-time riders. On today's American used market, most examples sell between roughly $5,500 and $11,500, making it an outstanding value for anyone chasing long-distance comfort without sacrificing sporty handling. Its only real drawback is the weight you'll notice while moving it around the garage. The Concours 14 shows just how agile a powerful sport tourer can become when its chassis and engine work together. It shrinks around you once you're moving, making its size surprisingly easy to forget. But its high-performance personality still asks you to stay engaged, especially during slower maneuvers, where its sporty geometry reminds you that it's built for speed first. The next motorcycle takes a different engineering path. Instead of feeling lighter through athletic handling, it hides its weight through balance so natural that many riders stop thinking about the motorcycle altogether. Number 10. Honda ST1300. The Honda ST1300 has every reason to feel intimidating. With a wet weight of roughly 720 pounds, it ranks among the heaviest motorcycles in this countdown. Yet the moment it starts rolling, something unexpected happens. The bulk seems to melt away, replaced by a calm, balanced feel that has made this motorcycle a favorite of long-distance riders and even police motor units. Honda's secret lies beneath the bodywork. Its liquid-cooled, 90-degree V4 engine, displacing 1,261 cubic centimeters, sits low in the aluminum twin-spar frame. Better yet, most of the fuel is stored beneath the seat instead of high above the engine, keeping the center of gravity low even as the tank empties. The adjustable seat, ranging from just over 31 to nearly 32 inches, also helps many riders feel secure at stops. On the used American market, clean examples usually sell for between roughly $4,500 and $8,500. It is proof that thoughtful engineering matters more than raw weight. With this, we've talked about how much difference weight, distribution, engine placement, and chassis design can make. But now we want to hear from you. Have you ever ridden a motorcycle that felt dramatically lighter than its numbers suggested? Or have you owned a bike that looked intimidating but surprised you once you got moving? Leave your experience in the comments, because those real-world stories are what help other riders understand what specifications alone can never explain. And the next motorcycle disguises its size using a completely different formula, and the result is even harder to believe. Number 9. Harley-Davidson Road King. If there is one motorcycle that has absolutely no right to feel this manageable, it is the Harley-Davidson Road King. Parked on its kickstand, it looks every bit the heavyweight touring cruiser its reputation suggests. Tipping the scales at roughly 807 pounds ready to ride, you'd expect slow speed maneuvers to be a workout. Instead, the moment you ease out the clutch, the Road King seems to shed a surprising amount of that weight. It's one of those motorcycles that simply feels smaller from the saddle than it ever does standing beside it. That confidence comes from decades of clever engineering rather than a miracle diet. Nestled deep inside the chassis is Harley-Davidson's 1,923 cubic centimeter Milwaukee 8117 V-twin. By mounting that big engine low in the frame and keeping much of the motorcycle's mass close to the pavement, Harley created an exceptionally low center of gravity. Pair that with a rigid touring chassis, a long wheelbase, and wide handlebars that provide excellent steering leverage, and the Road King remains remarkably composed, whether you're threading through traffic or making a tight parking lot turn. Its biggest advantage, however, is the seat. At just over 26 inches when loaded, it allows many riders to plant both feet securely on the ground, instantly making this full-size tourer feel far less intimidating. Once you're moving, the steering stays neutral, the balance feels natural, and the motorcycle responds with far less effort than its size would ever suggest. Clean used examples generally range from around $13,000 to $22,000 across the United States. But low isn't the whole story. A relaxed cruiser geometry trades some agility for stability, and riders who enjoy carving, sweeping corners may begin wishing the bike reacted with less effort. The next motorcycle answers that challenge by combining touring comfort with the sharp precision of a purpose-built aluminum chassis, showing that balance can come from engineering as much as from seat height. Number 8. The Yamaha FJR1300. For years, the Yamaha FJR1300 has been the motorcycle seasoned riders recommend when someone wants serious touring comfort without sacrificing sharp handling. That might sound hard to believe when you learn it weighs more than 640 pounds with a full tank. Yet the first few miles are enough to change your mind. Instead of feeling like a heavyweight tourer, the FJR responds with the poise and precision of a much smaller motorcycle, making long days in the saddle feel almost effortless. At its heart is a liquid-cooled 1,298 cubic centimeter inline four that delivers smooth, relentless power across the rev range. Rather than allowing that engine to make the bike feel top-heavy, Yamaha mounted it low inside a lightweight aluminum twin spar frame. The fuel tank is carefully positioned to keep weight centralized, while the shaft drive system is engineered to minimize chassis movement under acceleration. Put it all together, and the FJR turns in naturally, holds its line with confidence, and never feels reluctant to change direction. The adjustable seat ranges from roughly 32 to 33 inches, giving many riders a comfortable fit. Even during slow speed, U-turns or crowded parking lots, the bike remains reassuringly balanced. Once you're moving, it seems to shed pounds with every mile, inspiring confidence whether you're carving mountain roads or crossing entire states. On today's American used market, expect clean examples to sell for roughly $8,500 to $15,000. At this point, we've seen that the secret is not simply making a motorcycle lighter. It's about where the weight is placed and how the machine works with the rider. So tell us in the comments, what matters more to you when choosing a large motorcycle, a lower center of gravity, easier low speed control, or maximum highway comfort? Share your answer below, because every rider has a different definition of what makes a heavyweight motorcycle feel effortless. And if you think this Yamaha hides its weight well, the next motorcycle raises the bar even higher with an engineering layout unlike anything we've covered so far. Number 7. BMW R1300GS. Some heavyweight touring motorcycles constantly remind you how much they weigh. The BMW R1300GS does exactly the opposite. Despite tipping the scales at roughly 615 pounds fully fueled, it feels remarkably composed the moment you lift it off the side stand. Within a few miles, many riders stop thinking about its size altogether and simply enjoy the ride. That is no accident. BMW engineered this motorcycle to feel balanced before it ever focused on reducing weight. The biggest reason is BMW's legendary air and liquid cooled boxer twin, displacing 1,254 cubic centimeters. Because the cylinders extend horizontally instead of standing upright, much of the engine's mass sits incredibly close to the ground. That lower center of gravity makes slow speed turns, parking lot maneuvers, and sweeping corners feel noticeably easier than you would expect from a luxury tourer. BMW reinforces that confidence with its telelever front suspension, which minimizes front-end dive during braking, keeping the motorcycle calm and settled instead of pitching forward. The adjustable seat ranges from just under 32 to just over 32 inches, while optional seats make the RT accessible to an even wider range of riders. On the used American market, clean examples typically sell for between roughly $15,000 and $24,000. The R1300GS is one of the best examples of how a low center of gravity can transform a heavyweight touring motorcycle into something that feels remarkably easy to control. Yet sophisticated engineering often comes with premium complexity, and not every rider wants a motorcycle whose greatest advantage depends on a unique engine layout. The next contender achieves its surprising agility with a completely different philosophy, using modern American chassis engineering to make a full-size V-twin behave far smaller than its dimensions would ever suggest. Number 6. Indian Challenger. The Indian Challenger is one of those motorcycles that completely rewrites your expectations. Standing still, it looks every bit like the full-size American bagger it is. With a commanding presence and a wet weight of more than 800 pounds, you'd expect it to feel slow, heavy, and demanding at lower speeds. Instead, the first few miles reveal a motorcycle that feels surprisingly athletic, responding with a level of precision that's difficult to believe until you've experienced it yourself. A big reason for that is what's hidden beneath the bodywork. Power comes from Indian's 1,768 cubic centimeter Power Plus V-twin, which is built into a rigid cast aluminum frame rather than a traditional steel chassis. That design centralizes the motorcycle's mass while giving the suspension a solid platform to work from. With the engine mounted low, modern chassis geometry, and inverted front forks, the Challenger changes direction with far less effort than a touring motorcycle of this size should. Its low seat height of just over 26 inches also inspires confidence whenever you pull up to a stop. Once underway, the motorcycle feels planted, predictable, and remarkably easy to manage over long distances. Clean used examples typically range from around $18,000 to $28,000 across the United States. But there's still one place where you never completely forget you're riding a heavyweight: when the road tightens, the surface changes, or the pace becomes unpredictable. At those moments, sheer mass still makes its presence known. What if the motorcycle could make its weight disappear, not by carrying it lower, but by spreading it so perfectly that balance becomes almost instinctive? One iconic engine layout has been doing exactly that for decades, and it's about to change the way this countdown looks at heavyweight handling. Number 5. The BMW R1300GS. Few motorcycles have earned a reputation quite like the BMW R1300GS. Despite weighing around 550 pounds with a full tank, it has an almost uncanny ability to disguise its size. In fact, many riders swear it feels closer to a middleweight than a full-size adventure bike. That's no accident. It's the result of decades of refining one of the smartest chassis layouts in motorcycling. Power comes from BMW's iconic air and liquid-cooled 1,254 cubic centimeter boxer twin with shift cam technology. Unlike a conventional engine, the boxer places its cylinders low and wide, dropping the center of gravity and giving the GS an incredibly natural sense of balance. BMW pairs that with a frame that keeps the engine as a stressed member, while the signature 𝐕𝗨𝗟 front suspension reduces brake dive and helps the bike stay composed when entering corners. The adjustable seat ranges from roughly 33 to 34 inches, yet the low center of gravity makes slow speed riding far less intimidating than you'd expect. Tight U-turns, uneven parking lots, and gravel pull-offs all feel surprisingly manageable for a motorcycle of this size. On today's American used market, most examples sell for roughly $15,500 to $23,500. Even so, it still asks something from its rider. Its tall stance and commanding riding position demand confidence whenever the bike slows to walking pace. Now imagine removing that last bit of intimidation altogether. Imagine a motorcycle that's even heavier on paper, yet welcomes you with one of the lowest seating positions in the touring world. Sometimes the biggest surprise isn't how much a motorcycle weighs, it's how little you notice once you're sitting on it. Number 4. Honda Goldwing DCT. If someone told you an 855-pound touring motorcycle could feel almost effortless at slow speeds, you would probably never believe them until you rode a Honda Goldwing DCT. Somehow, Honda transformed one of the largest motorcycles on the road into a machine that feels calm, balanced, and surprisingly easy to manage. It is one of those rare motorcycles that seems to lose weight the moment the wheels begin turning. The secret starts with Honda's legendary liquid-cooled flat-six engine, displacing 1,833 cubic centimeters. Because the cylinders lie horizontally, the engine sits incredibly low in the chassis, creating an exceptionally low center of gravity. Honda paired that layout with a lightweight aluminum frame and an innovative double wishbone front suspension that keeps the motorcycle remarkably composed under braking instead of allowing its weight to dive forward. The seat height is just over 29 inches, giving riders immediate confidence at every stop. Even better, the 7-speed dual-clutch transmission removes much of the effort from low-speed riding, while walking mode can gently move the motorcycle forward or backward without the rider wrestling hundreds of pounds by hand. On the used American market, clean examples typically sell for between roughly $18,000 and $31,000. But its effortless character comes largely from eliminating rider workload as much as disguising physical mass. Some riders still want a machine that feels alive beneath them while remaining almost impossibly light for its size. The next motorcycle answers that challenge with an engineering masterpiece that few manufacturers have ever attempted. A remarkably compact six-cylinder engine that delivers luxury without the bulk you'd expect. Number 3, BMW K1600GTL Luxury. Touring motorcycles aren't supposed to feel nimble, yet the BMW K1600GTL somehow breaks that rule. With a wet weight of roughly 767 pounds, it has every reason to feel intimidating at low speeds. Instead, the first few corners reveal a motorcycle that responds with surprising precision, almost shrinking beneath you as the miles roll by. It's one of the clearest examples that intelligent engineering can matter far more than the number printed on a spec sheet. At the heart of that experience is BMW's incredibly compact 1,649 cubic centimeter inline six engine. Despite having 6 cylinders, it's remarkably narrow and mounted low in the chassis, with a forward-leaning design that keeps the center of gravity impressively close to the pavement. BMW complements that layout with a rigid aluminum frame, while the dual-lever front suspension minimizes brake dive, and the paralever rear suspension keeps the shaft drive smooth and composed. Together, they give this Grand Tourer an unexpectedly effortless feel through sweeping bends and even during slow-speed maneuvers. A seat height of just under 30 inches further boosts rider confidence, making such a substantial motorcycle feel far less overwhelming than its size suggests. Clean used examples typically sell for between $16,000 and $28,000 across the United States. Yet every ounce of that refinement is designed with paved roads in mind. Once the pavement becomes broken, uneven, or unpredictable, even the best Grand Tourer begins revealing the limits of its mission. So what happens when engineers build a full-size motorcycle to stay featherweight no matter what the road throws underneath it? The answer comes from a machine whose balance is just as impressive standing on gravel as it is carving through asphalt. Number 2, the Honda Africa Twin 1100. The Honda Africa Twin 1100 has mastered something most full-size adventure bikes never quite achieve. It feels smaller the instant you climb aboard. Whether you're weaving through traffic, picking your way along a rocky trail, or carving a winding back road, it disguises its size so well that it's easy to forget you're riding a machine weighing well over 500 pounds. At the heart of it is a liquid-cooled 1,084 cubic centimeter parallel twin with a distinctive 270-degree crankshaft. Honda mounted the engine low and slightly forward in the chassis, while the slim steel frame keeps the motorcycle incredibly narrow between your knees. Instead of carrying its weight high and wide, the Africa Twin concentrates its mass near the center, giving it a light, predictable feel that inspires confidence from the very first mile. The adjustable seat sits at roughly 34 inches, yet the narrow waist makes reaching the ground much easier than the numbers suggest. Slow speed, U-turns feel natural, the steering stays precise, and even the larger adventure sports model avoids the top-heavy feeling common in this class. On today's American used market, expect to pay roughly $10,500 to $16,500. But every engineering solution we've seen so far has involved at least one compromise. Some bikes sit lower. Others sacrifice agility for stability. Some rely on specialized transmissions. Others trade outright comfort for versatility. The final motorcycle is different because it doesn't simply solve one part of the equation. It brings nearly every solution together. But before we reveal the motorcycle that takes this idea further than anything else, if you've enjoyed seeing how manufacturers hide hundreds of pounds through intelligent engineering, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. We're always exploring the engineering choices that make these machines faster, lighter, and more fascinating. Number 1, BMW R1300GS. Reaching the top of this countdown is a motorcycle that changes your expectations within the first few minutes of riding it. The BMW R1300GS is not the lightest machine here on paper, weighing roughly 523 pounds fully fueled. Yet the moment you pull away, it feels astonishingly smaller than it really is. Tight U-turns become less intimidating, slow speed balance feels almost effortless, and carving through corners is so natural that many riders forget they're on a full-size adventure motorcycle. That remarkable illusion is exactly why it earns the #1 position. BMW achieved this by rethinking almost everything. The new air and liquid-cooled boxer twin, displacing 1,300 cubic centimeters, is noticeably more compact than before, while the transmission now sits beneath the engine to centralized mass. Combined with the boxer layout's naturally low cylinders, the motorcycle carries its weight incredibly close to the ground. An all-new steel frame, aluminum rear subframe, and the latest 𝐏𝐄𝐑𝐒 and 𝐆𝐄𝐀𝐿 suspension systems keep the chassis composed under braking, acceleration, and uneven pavement, making every steering input feel lighter than expected. The standard seat adjusts from roughly 33½ to just over 34 inches, while optional low suspension and adaptive ride height systems allow a much wider range of riders to manage the motorcycle with confidence. Well-equipped examples on the American market typically sell between roughly $20,000 and $28,000, depending on equipment and condition. The R1300GS proves that the number on a specification sheet tells only part of the story. Intelligent engineering, exceptional mass centralization, and outstanding balance create a motorcycle that feels dramatically lighter than it has any right to. If any full-size motorcycle truly deserves to be called featherweight, this is the one. And that tells you something important. These motorcycles are not just heavy machines with impressive numbers. They are examples of engineering that can completely change the way a motorcycle feels beneath you. And if this video helped you see big motorcycles differently, the next video is waiting for you. We're exploring another side of the motorcycle world with a breakdown that reveals machines, designs, and stories most riders never look closely enough to discover. Click the next video to continue the road trip. Join our tribe by subscribing. And don't forget to like this video.